Hi everyone, this is Mindy Eggen and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I am sharing lots of inspiration using the new Simon Says Stamp exclusive limited edition holiday kit. I'll be creating a few of these cards on screen for you, and then I have a bonus project at the end that I had a lot of fun creating. So now let's first take a look at what's all included in this kit. So first we have some word dies. Now this one says Tidings of Cheer. This next one says Happy Holidays, and then we have a partridge die in the shape of a circle, and these are so pretty. They also have the shadow with them. We have the Holly Jolly Berries embossing folder, some pine twine, and then these two markers. Now these are super cool and I'll be using them later in the video, but they are tri-blend markers with a brush edge. And what this is there's 3 different shades in one marker, and these are alcohol markers. There is this gorgeous 6x8 stamp set, and this is the Festive Feathered Friends stamp set. I'll be using this in the video, and there's also some pattern paper included in the kit. So I'm going to quickly flip through. These are double-sided, really great for adding to your cards, but I'm going to use them for something different that I'll show you later on at the end. Next, we have some Christmas ephemera from Tim Holtz and Ideology. So there are a bunch of pieces in here, and I'm going to use this to decorate a project, but these are also great on card fronts. All you need to do is add some maybe foam squares to give them a little dimension. There is a package of small gift tags, which you could also use to add the ephemera to. There's a sheet of foam squares, and then there's a couple envelopes in here. Some of these are like a shimmer metallic type of envelope, very pretty. There's also a glue stick, and then some cardstock. So these are some festive colors to go with the kit. There's also like this velvet paper, I believe this is. And then we have this red, I think it's like a holographic. It's got a really cool shine and sheen to it. And then, of course, you get this large zipper pouch to put all the contents of the kit in. So the first card that I'm going to create for you is this window shaker card, and I'm going to be using this partridge circle die from the kit. I'm going to cut it from some matte gold cardstock. Now, after I die cut this out, I'm also going to use it and die cut it from a piece of white cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm using this to create the window of my card, and I also saved that piece at die cut out because I'm going to layer them together. Now, I took a piece of acetate, cut a little bit smaller than my cardstock, added some double-sided adhesive, and put the acetate on the back of my window card. I actually used some spray adhesive. Since this is a super fine detailed die, I use spray adhesive to adhere it together. Behind my window, I'm going to add some ink blending. So I'm starting with some Sunbeam ink. Then I'm going to bring in Limelicious and add it right above that. But that was almost too close of a color to the Sunbeam. So I'm going to switch that up and bring in Fairway ink. So it's a little bit more of a green. And I'm going to blend that just kind of going in thirds of my circle. And then next I'll bring in Ocean. And so I'm going to blend that so it goes between the yellow and the green. And this is going to create that blended scene behind my window. So I'm going to bring that window in real quick, make sure I have all my areas covered. And one more thing I wanted to do to this is I'm going to spray this Shimmer Mist Pearl from Brutus Monroe. You want to make sure you shake it up really, really well. And then I'm going to spray it over my background, and it's going to add this gorgeous pearl mist on top of that ink blending, and almost kind of looks like a resist of sorts. I'm using a greeting from that Festive Feathered Friends stamp set that I'm going to stamp in intense black ink. I want to make sure I do this before I attach any foam tape behind my panel. I'm going to be using the Thermal Web foam tape. Now this stuff is pretty thick and I only really need 1 layer of it. So I'm trimming that down and lining the back of my panel with that foam tape, making sure all the areas are touching. I don't want any gaps because I don't want my shaker bits to fall out. Then before I remove the backing, I'm going to prep the edges with an anti-static powder tool to help remove any of the stick. And I'm going to sprinkle in some sequins. Now these are just some random sequins I have in my stash. Some of these are like some circle iridescent, and then the other ones are just a clear sequins mix. And the best tip I have for you is to sprinkle them in using a mini spoon. It is so much easier. Now next, I'm taping my corners down with the Simon Says Stamp low tack tape. That way, when I remove the backing, my paper isn't buckling up. It's going to stay flat. And then I can place my blended panel down. So when I do this, everything is nice and flat, and the tape does not rip my cardstock, Plus, it's also just barely touching a corner and it's not going to rip anything. Now I can flip this over, and I love those shaker bits in the window. They are perfect for that background, and it doesn't take away from that gorgeous partridge I did out of that matte gold cardstock. For my next card, I'm going to use that Festive Feathered Friends stamp set because I think these are beautiful images, and I'm also going to be able to talk to you a little about the markers that are included in the kit. So first I picked out this image, and I'm going to stamp it on Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock using the Simon Says stamp Intense Black ink. And I love how these kind of have that 12 Days of Christmas feel to them. So I stamped that down, let that dry for a second, and now we're going to move on to these markers. So there's a green and a red, and they have a brush tip to them. There are 3 different shades of green in this one marker. You just need to remove the cap of whichever one you're going to use. And I will say, I really did like using these alcohol markers. I love coloring, but I'm also kind of lazy and I'm a quick crafter. I want to grab my stuff and get moving. I don't want to have to sit and really think about what colors blend together. This made it so easy. Now I do have quite a bit of practice with Copic coloring, but like I said, I craft quick. I want to get moving. I don't want to sit and dig through everything, whether it's for my swatches or what colors blend together. And this it saved so much time, and I love the color combination. So by these 2 markers being included in the kit, it really gave me a chance to play with them, experiment, see if it was something I liked, and it's also going to give you a chance to play with them and see if it's something that you enjoy working with as well. And I'm going to go ahead and admit, I played with these for a couple days, and I went ahead and ordered a box of them. That's how in love I am with them. I have plenty of Copic markers. I have lots of alcohol markers, but these were so amazing, I immediately went out and bought some more. Now, being that there were the only 2 markers in there, I did have to go into my Copic markers so I could add a different shade of green to the leaves. And I also need to color in the eggs, which of course it's it's going to be golden eggs. I don't know if that's part of the 12 Days of Christmas, but for some reason I just had golden eggs stuck in my head. So I went through, found a color combination that worked well here. It's more of the high Ys, like Y26, just to kind of give it that golden feel. I'm going to leave the berries white, but you could color those red if you want, or if you have another shade of red that you'd want to color them. And then up by the eye area, I'm going to color that in some neutral grays. So I have N8, N6, and N4, I think it was. And then just bringing in an N2 to give this some highlights, some depth to my image. Now you could fussy cut this image out, but I purposely placed it towards the bottom of the card because I'm going to add a sentiment towards the top. So I'm using a piece of that red holographic cardstock, and I'm going to die cut the Happy Holidays from that. I also die cut that sentiment about 3 more times from white cardstock and layer this all together with liquid glue just so it adds a little dimension to the front of the card. Before I attach it, I want to add this sentiment. For some reason, I really liked the 2 different, what is that called, typography. I just really like how these 2 looked together. So I went ahead and stamped that on my card, and then I could come in, add liquid glue, and add my die cut sentiment towards the top. Now here's where we can kind of dress up this image a little bit. So I'm bringing in some unicorn stickles and I'm adding them to those white berry areas. And then I have a clear lacquer pen, and I'm going to add that over my golden eggs just to give it a little bit of shine. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm being very careful not to touch anything that's wet. And I really like the simplicity of this card. I have another card I created that's similar to this, but I did die cut out the image and add it to the front of the card with some foam squares, and I had heat embossed snowflakes in the background first. So that's all part of that stamp set. Now here's just a quick comparison of the 2 cards that I created there with the swan, and then there's also the shaker card that I created on screen for you. I love giving this a shake. And then I have another card that I created, but this one was off screen. I used the embossing folder with that red holographic cardstock. It's gorgeous this way. Added a thin frame die cut from some gold glitter cardstock, and the tidings of cheer I also die cut from that same gold glitter cardstock. Now here is some bonus content for you. I did not film this, I'm sorry, because I wasn't sure if it was actually going to work. but I created a vignette box from the ephemera and that patterned paper in the kit. I bought this box like, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago and have always wanted to create something like this. I finally just sat down, dug out the supplies. I trimmed down all the pattern paper and lined the inside of each square and the back with that pattern paper, and I attached it using Distress Collage Medium, I believe it's called. So I added all of those. I have like the candy cane, that box in the middle, all of those kind of elements in the forefront are added with foam squares to kind of separate it from the background. I used that pine twine and lined the back of each box with that. And then I also put in some mica flakes. I added a piece of acetate over the whole front and then lined that with some gold washi tape that I found in my stash. So I had a ton of fun creating that vignette box. Now, I will have all of my supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. This is a limited edition exclusive kit to Simon Says Stamp. I hope you enjoyed today's inspiration. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you again real soon.